What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the Buy the Hood podcast or webcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy, and as we start off every show, that's with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to anyone who supports anything we got going on here at Buy the Hood because, man, listen, the support is tremendous and we appreciate all of it. Special shout out to all the students from Buy the Hood University as well as the youth from the Buy the Hood ownership camp. I got my partner in crime, me as always, Core. What's up, good brother?
What's really good, man? Every day above ground's a good day, so let's go get it.
Yes, sir. With that being said, our platform is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who are doing positive work, building businesses, just doing great things in the community and putting out positive energy representing our people. This brother that we have with us now has a couple different things going on, and we're going to talk about them all. We got, man, listen, I'm excited to have this brother on, man, because I want to really hear him talk about how he's scaling up his second business, but we're going to start with the first business. With that being said, we got Sterling Baltimore in the building. Sterling, what's up, good brother?
Man, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time, man. And I know that you have a couple things. You have a t-shirt company that you've been working in for years, almost a decade at this point.
Yeah.
But recently, you started scaling up a vending machine business, and I want to talk about that as well. But before we get into the specifics of what you got going on with that, tell us about your background. Where are you from? Where are you born and raised?
Yeah, so I'm from Philadelphia, West Philly. I went to
insert the Will Smith quote right here.
Yeah, you know what? In my bio, I actually put that in there, but I didn't want to be corny. But yeah, I went to Hamilton to Transfiguration. Those that are familiar with that school, but my high school education was West Catholic, so that was a great experience there. Then I went on to community college in Eastern University. I started out studying computer animation and graphic design. Then I actually made this transition into business. Then from there, I actually went into working into education. So I got a chance to kind of like, try out, different things, which eventually helped me become what I am today.
All right. So with that being said, though, what kind of student were you coming up? Were you a good student, average student, great student?
I was a struggling student, man. I was one of the students that had a very unique experience where, because I was a good kid, I kind of like went through the system, right? I didn't cause problems. And the teachers were like nice to me and they would basically give me C's to kind of get me through. But I had a very hard time like comprehending and learning because I started off in public school and then I went from public school to private school and just a different pace, different level of expectation. I was just surviving the social climate in public school. Then when I got to Catholic school, it was like it's a safe learning environment, but I was so far behind. On top of that, I stuttered. So there was a lot of things I just didn't learn while I was in school. When I got to college, it all clicked. I always was creative, but I wasn't like your traditional student, at the time. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle for me, to be honest.
Okay, that's interesting. So when you were going through those struggles when you were younger, what were your dreams and plans at that point? So you said you started in animation. So was that like something that you really thought you wanted to do at the time?
Yeah, like by me being an artist, I was always creative, and I had mentors when I was growing up. Like my dad did a lot of stuff in the community. My uncle did some stuff in politics. So I was learning outside the classroom. Like I learned how to network. I learned how to like, just do non-traditional things outside the classroom. And by me being an artist, I was kind of like, oh, okay, like I'll just do art, And then when I got into college, it was like I was struggling at first because it's like, oh, you got to take other courses outside of art. So I started off in 60th Street airbrush shop. And those that are, kind of familiar with that area, I started airbrushing at first, and that kind of like moved me forward, into like, really being more of an artistic person. But that was going to be my lane. And when I got to college, it kind of shifted. But, that's how I saw myself just being an artist at that point. And I kind of coasted through school.
Okay. So then you said you got into studying business at Eastern. So what part was it? Just business management? Was it business administration? What was it?
It was business management, and I kind of got to back up a little bit because when I was at community college, I was working for this nonprofit and I was teaching art. And when I was teaching art, I became to realize like, yo, I love teaching. I love working with children. So at that time, it was like, I started finding ways for me to like, I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I just took business like everybody else. But I was like learning more in the workforce. And that allowed me to really work harder at being a better student. So it was like I was still kind of trying to figure things out. But me working around kids made me realize like, okay, I want to go back and do better at school. So
okay. All right, so that's the interesting part of your journey. Let's talk about your t-shirt business because that it's been close to a decade that you've been running
Yeah.
that. Tell us a little bit about how it started and kind of like what are you doing within that business? What are some of your specialties?
Sure. So it started back when I was actually in the classroom. So even though I went to school for business, I wound up working for a university here in Philly, and I became the director, the project director, and I essentially worked in schools, running like after school programs, school day programs, project director for Freedom School, and I was basically trying to teach my students business, and I created this partnership with the Wharton School of Business, and during that time, I started creating T-shirts for my students. I was showing them how to like, the concepts of business. Like, all right, here's a T-shirt. It was called "I Love Music," and we went out and we sold it. Well, after a period of time, it was like the kids really wanted to do more with it, and I couldn't find a screen printer who basically was able to make the shirts at a good amount. Because of my background in art, I kind of was like, I had some experience screen printing, and I decided to, started making the shirts for my students. And one day, my son's school, they were like, hey, if you're making shirts for your students, it was like, yo, we need some camp shirts. So I was like, cool. And I went to go do their camp order, and I got a check, for a couple $1,000. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Instead of me just selling like, one or two t-shirts here and there at $20 a shirt, I can actually go get orders for a couple hundred shirts, and that's kind of was like that's how I segue made the bridge into not just selling t-shirts but actually manufacturing and printing t-shirts.
So tell us about that business. Like, what are some of the benefits of that business, and also tell us some of the struggles that you have in terms of the over the last like I said, close to a decade. Like, tell us kind of your journey into that business and where you are now.
Yeah, man, that first year, man, I got by on grace. Like like I was learning how to screen print at a level to produce quality shirts in which people were satisfied for what they were paying for, right? So I had to go into a space where there was not a lot of people out there telling you what to do. Luckily I had somewhat of an art background. So I was really figuring out like, okay, where do you buy this from? Where do you buy that from? All right, here's a process where I can make 12 t-shirts, but it's taking me 4 hours, right? So I need to get this equipment. So the first 2 years, I was basically trial and error figuring out how to manufacture shirts at a larger scale. And then being able to, on the front end, the customer side is like, how am I interacting with customers? I was trying to figure out the process of taking payments. And at that time, things were starting to evolve. Cash App is out, Venmo was out, I was doing like at the time you could take the iPhone and slide in the square and people can swipe their credit cards. But then I also needed to do a proof of somebody's work. I had to get these systems. So there were so many front end things where it's like I had to like, kind of figure out the customer experience and also give them a quality product. So at the same time, I'm trying to grow on both ends, how to actually handle the production and then also, look professional, on one side. As
Hmm.
time went on, I got into Shopify, and when I got into Shopify, I was able to have a more with a better, customer experience on on the computer side. Because what happened is I would post pictures of people's orders that I did, and they would come out nice. People like it, but then throughout the day, as an entrepreneur, people were contacting me through so many different platforms. They were texting me, they were DMing me. I was getting Facebook messaging. Sometimes I would get an email. Sometimes I get a phone call, and it was just very difficult to kind of keep up with all of these different inquiries of people that wanted orders. So then I had to funnel everybody to just corresponding with me through email. I still have customers that that will text back and forth, but once we get to a certain point, I just move them to email so I can do that process. And these are just the kind of like the stages and phases of growing the business.
Hmm.
One of the challenges I run into is because I'm at a point now where it's like I'm getting so many orders that I have to be conscious of like how many packages are getting delivered to my place without somebody stealing it. You know,
Yeah.
it's just I'm really at a point of like scale up. So we went from doing a order a week, 2 orders a week, to now I just mainly focus on like bulk orders, and it's
Hmm.
like a lot of different processes that go into that.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question because I like when I talk to people who are entrepreneurs who have jobs or come from corporate or even government environments.
Mhm.
Um, those jobs you had leading up to this point where you started your t-shirt business and education, and everything else you did, how has that helped you at all in terms of running your business and figuring things out? Like, so did you learn anything like in the education space that maybe you brought with you that has helped you along this journey?
Oh, most definitely. One of the great things that happened to me was that um, the organization I started working for with that university, it was a brand new site. And what I mean is I was the director there. To my very first day, all I had was my cell phone and my laptop. So I was able to essentially grow, like hire people, put the handbook in place, do training, really scale the program and measure outcomes. I had to manage the budget, had to take care of people travel. So I was always in the process of figuring things out. So when it
Hmm.
came time to me to do my business, I already had that built into me, being able to figure things out. The challenge I'm at now is like I was able to scale a business using someone else's money, right? And
Yeah.
their time, and their resources. Now I'm at a point where it's like, yo, like I have to scale and remove myself and really fit in some, sound systems. And that's where I'm at this point. So that experience was perfect. I had some great contacts, people that, you know, um, I'm able to like really grow my business the way that I have it because of all the networking and contacts that I did through my job and through those spaces. But if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't have been able to, really do the business and grow it from the ground up. You know, I
Yeah.
I needed that practice basically.
What's the name of your t-shirt company?
It's called T Academy, TEE Academy.
Okay. Okay. T Academy. So we'll make sure that we put the link to your website within the description and the show notes as well.
Mhm.
But
And
go ahead, go ahead.
and the reason it's called T Academy is because at the time when I was working with children, my goal, in which I really want to get to, is that we were going to come up with a portion of certain sales to go back to students working in programs,
Hmm.
and we're still trying to scale to that point. Now we've done things where is that my main demographic is people that work with people, right? So youth programs, nonprofits, a lot of faith-based communities. So we like to operate in that space because we know what their needs are. We work with a lot of camps around the city, and I know from running camps, like you you're not going to know your sizes from when you first put that first inquiry in. I know that you put that order in on a Friday. You need it for the following Friday because that's the first big trip. So we kind of stayed in that space, and eventually, we want to be able to, do like some more booster fundraiser things where we can offer, shirts as like fundraisers, and ways for smaller nonprofits and youth-based programs to be able to, supplement what they're doing. That was the original idea around T Academy, where we can really, give back to the youth and to the community.
Okay, that's dope stuff right there, man. So, and Corey, I know you got some questions, and I just want to get this on the record before we even move to that. Is over the last couple years, you've added a whole other business to your portfolio of businesses, right? And you were telling me about how you got into the vending business. Well, first off, how'd you even get into the vending business?
Yeah. So so while I was working, I left working at the university and I started working for a company that did contract work. So, I still had a family to take care of. So I was still held down to 9 to 5. And basically, we were in charge of like fixing the kiosk machines. And I worked there for a while. And what happened was COVID hit. And when COVID hit, the t-shirt business slowed down. Well, my regular day job, we moved into a warehouse and just being an entrepreneur, right? I'm looking for just looking for problems and just looking like, well, I should say a problem presented itself, an
Hmm.
opportunity presented itself. And I'm like, well, man, we in this big warehouse. Where's the vending machines? So,
Yeah.
and because the t-shirts were slowing down because of COVID, people weren't gathering. I was interested in like, a different stream of income. So I looked around and I'm like, let me start looking into it. And when I started looking into it, I'm like, yo, the kiosk machine basically is parallel to a vending machine. And
Hmm.
I'm like, man, there's a lot of things here. So I started looking into the business behind it. And I took a little further. I started investing into the stock market, and I was trying to figure out ways where I can have a consistent, passive stream of income.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I'm like, yo, I bet I might make. I sell my chips for like $1, right? So I may make 50 cents on that bag. And I'm like, well, 50 cents right now is not nothing big, but 50 cents into Apple over, 5, 10, 20 years,
Yeah.
long way. So that's how I kind of set it up. Was like, all right, I'll grab a couple machines and I can put this into my Roth, put this into my, my stock portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, it's like, yo, these vending machines is pretty scalable.
Yeah.
So
And they're giving you cash flow to help you invest into something else.
yeah, and that's basically what it was, because I realized within the t-shirt, I keep hitting this ceiling of, until I'm able to get automatic machines, there's only so many orders I can do, right? And then I realized, but the vending machine is like, okay, take the money from here, hit it into this, and I'm not just over leveraging, just having one source of income from the t-shirt business.
So
and
let me
kind of got into that.
So how has that been over the last couple of years in terms of starting the vending machine? How's that business been for you?
It's been right place, right time, because of COVID. A lot of people who were in that space, who were more so seasoned, they're starting to exit that space. So it's kind of like if you had a business and say you targeted like offices, and then people went virtual, so those people had a business, set around those accounts, and now
Yeah.
people aren't in their business. So there's like a mass exodus of people who have like these legacy locations. So, and I'm coming behind them, and I'm like, yo, I'll buy the machine directly off those people. Like, hey, I'm a startup. So it's like, I'll buy it. They're trying to get out. And another opportunity within this space is that because of the credit card readers, a lot of people had a cash-based business. So they don't want, to record they doing all these transactions with the credit card. So that's more people exiting the space. So it's really been an opportunity to kind of like, right place, right time. And because of my connections through the t-shirt business, I've been able to leverage those relationships and get into those respective, organizations, because I'm, dependable on the t-shirt side. They're like, and they're typically the people that can make the decision to be able to come into that building because they ordered the shirts. They're like, hey, come on inside my organization as well, and I can do the vending machines.
So that's interesting. That's interesting, your journey in terms of how everything builds on top of each other, right?
Yeah.
So your work in education kind of helps you with the t-shirt, and then the t-shirt helps you with the other business because I guess honestly it's because you're delivering, you're doing what you said you can do, right?
Yeah.
So you have a great say-do ratio, so people kind of respect that and allow you to keep building.
Yeah, and those, for me, relationships has been key. Like I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I understand relationships. I always try to create relationships that are mutually beneficial. You know what I mean? I don't really go into things like, let me see how I can get the max out of this. And because I was in a position at my other company, at my first job, I was the head person. I was able to help people while they were on their way up. And I'm just keeping it being like they're coming out of college. I help folks that were like, they're trying to do this program, this initiative, and I would help set up a program and a budget around them. So it was helping them get set up. It was fortunate to the kids. And now, those folks, really, have been a blessing to repay that to me, or we just look out and we just kind of building each other up. But I always approach, business relationships in general, like try to make it mutually beneficial,
Yo, that's a gem right there. I'm actually writing that down. I think that might be the show title, Core.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because that's so true. Create relationships that are mutually beneficial. And I'm gonna tell you why. People don't think that way, believe it or not. I get calls every day, and then sometimes people say, I want you to mentor me or help me with this, but they only ask about what I can do for them. Always. And it's not that I'm opposed to that, but it's like, I've only had one young boy, and I was impressed by that. He was like, what can I do for you? How can I add value? And I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Because you got to create relationships that are mutual. Everybody is always looking to take instead of give. And that's the wrong way to be. So I think that's a gem right there. And that'll help you in the long run. You can pivot from that to something else. But what they remember is how you made them feel and the fact that you delivered what you said you would, whether it's t-shirts, whether it's vending machine, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think that's a gem right there. That's a bar. Corey, you have some questions, bro?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So just piggybacking off of that, because I had different phases in my t-shirt business, a lot of my older students come work for me as independent contractors, you know.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, they call me Uncle Sterling. So I've had students literally who were in my programs in 8th grade that come at different times during the year, you know, when I get really busy. So I'm able to pay them, you know what I mean? And they still looking out for their uncle, so to speak. And
Yeah.
it's mutually beneficial, you know what I mean?
There you
Works for
go. Mutually beneficial, right? Benefits them and you at the same time.
because I can still give them. I'm just one of the common people. Like I can talk to them about life, talk to them about entrepreneurship, and you know, and send them on their way. So whatever space they function in, now I'm giving them some wisdom, you know, and they, you know, helping me at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah. That's key. Mutually beneficial. Go ahead. What's up, Corey?
All right. So a few things. One, when you're setting up these programs or you're setting up your businesses in these places, what is the first thing? Like, what is the parameters that you're looking for to set up, or for a business, what is the parameters you're looking to set up for, and for a person, what are the parameters you're looking for people that work with you and for you?
Okay, for the vending machine or the t-shirt company.
Or for anything, like what kind of people are you looking for to work with and be around?
Yeah, so in the t-shirt space, I'm looking for people that can do multiple things, right? Like, do you have somewhat of an artistic background? Because we don't have the, you know, I'll call it like the McDonald's model where we don't need chefs, right? McDonald's don't need chefs. They just need people that can do, a function within the system. Because I'm not at that place yet, I have to have people that have somewhat of an artistic background, people that can figure things out, people that can see a problem that we didn't, see coming, and they can figure it out. So, I like a lot of creative people that can do that, because I have folks that can just do the printing, and then I have people that can think the whole process all the way through. Now, to be transparent, one of the challenges I run into is that those folks that work for me learned and then went out on their own and did their own thing. You know, so that's one of the challenges. It's kind of like the trade secret. Now, I don't cut those people off, to be honest. Like, yo, like, listen, like, that's not me. So we'll collaborate sometimes on certain things, because they'll get out there and they'll see like, yo, it's a lot to it than just manufacturing a shirt, right? So I look for people that kind of had that entrepreneur drive, that's creative, because they can, add value to my business. But I'm trying to, get to a point, I guess we'll talk about this later, I'm just scaling up where I don't need these people that are that specialized. They can just kind of like, just go through the process of pushing certain buttons. In terms of the vending machines, I just basically, it's a little bit more straightforward. Like, it's almost like real estate in a sense. It's about location. It don't really matter anything other than like how many people they have in the building, and is it placed in the right location. Because if you don't have those two things, it doesn't matter what products you put in there, right? You just have to have those things in place. So the vending machine business is basically business 101. You just let Pepsi and Coca-Cola do the work for you. You know what I mean? You get a reliable machine, keep it filled up, and it could just grow. And yeah.
Are you doing the refills, or are you paying someone else to do that?
So we're at the phase now where we have two guys that are filling things up. I'm training them. And it's very interesting you said it, because I'm training them with videos instead of me going out on location, right? Because it would be like, I'm going on location. So now I'm creating a system where we're recording me training them, and I'm sending them videos basically off of YouTube. So when they go out there, they have a pre-existing knowledge of it, and they'll be able to handle everything at this point forward. But before, it was me and my partners. But now it's like, because we're getting so many locations, I got to scale up, and that's kind of where I'm at now, using technology, for that.
And you said that you have youth programs. So what are the qualifications for the youth programs that you run?
Well, the youth programs was back in the day, like when I first started working. I actually do go in schools and teach workshops on entrepreneurship. A couple of my schools that I print their shirts for, that's kind of what I do. Like, I just don't come in and like print their shirts. I'll come in and do a workshop on t-shirts. But what's interesting was I did a career day not recently, and the kids was more interested in learning about the vending machines, because of all the different products. But that business is very easy to teach, because it's just really based on supply and demand. So that's my way of giving back. I don't charge anything. I just come out, and talk with the youth.
Dope.
Man, yeah, dope stuff you got going on, man. Let me ask you this question, right? So you talked about your experiences growing up in terms of education, um, working in education,
Hmm.
and also entrepreneurship. Along that journey, what would you say is the biggest hurdle or something that you had to overcome to get you from where you started, where you said you weren't that great of a student and you have a lot of reasons why, to where you are now, where you're able to communicate, you're able to run multiple businesses? What would you say is the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome in that time?
I think the biggest hurdle is basically being realistic of what I can do, right? So I got, like we were talking before, I'll get up early, I'll work late, I'll do what's ever required. Getting a little older, you know what I'm saying? I can't
Yeah.
do those things. So I'm realizing that even with the vending, so what I learned from the t-shirt business is that you have to set the systems up early so that it's scalable. With the vending machines, I'm 2 years in. I'm zooming in on making it scalable, and that's kind of where I'm at. Is like the biggest challenge I've had is that in other spaces I've been able to, in the context of running programs, elevate those programs.
Mhm.
Even in church, elevate certain things, put systems in place, but doing it for myself and trusting people to do it, I'm forced to do it now, right?
Mhm.
I have so many orders, I have so many machines. I just ordered, 3 books on a scaling up. I have to force myself, not because if I think about it, I never scaled up a business. I've scaled up organizations that work with people, but I haven't scaled up a business where I'm handed X amount of invoices, X amount of purchase orders, X amount of shipment coming. I need to be able to scale up in a way that removes myself. So that's been the biggest hurdle, to be honest, is like it's a scale up, you know.
Understood. And let me ask you this question about the vending machine. But you talked about like some of the struggles of the older people who were in the business before.
Mhm.
So with you, with those office spaces now going virtual and all that kind of stuff, where are you finding locations at?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I break them into like 3 categories.
Okay.
One is legacy sites. So I call a legacy site like a school. Because COVID took place, schools, we realized that a lot of things can close down, but not a school. A school can't remain closed for so long, just the way the economy works, right? So these are my legacy sites. So I'll put, like a brand new machine in there, and I'm trusting that this school is not going to close down over the next 10, 20 years, right? So I get that contract. Now the volume of transactions is not as high as like say like a warehouse, but it's a legacy site. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
get there, we park it there. The second thing is I look at high value locations. So these are like basically warehouse anywhere where people are doing physical activity. So that's what I'm looking for. So my spots where I have warehouses, they do really really good numbers. And basically, like man, listen, I talk that talk. I go in there, I look at your vending, I can look at your vending machine. And I know it sounds funny. It's like you can see a guy with a lady that's really attractive. Like yo, he ain't treating you right. You know what I mean? I go in there. I'm like, y'all got these products? Like, dang, like this thing ain't full. Yo, and you go in there and you realize that people like, I'm like, yo, listen, man. I start talking that talk, and then you talk with the person that own the machine. They may not want to pit up with the demand of that particular site because
Hmm.
it's trying to be something simple. Man, you talk that talk, and then you get in there, man. It's simple, and that's just being an entrepreneur, man. This is just like yo, you just see an opportunity, and that's what I look at. The third one is I'm figuring out. I'm trying to find. I'm looking at offices, but to your point with like COVID, it's very touchy because I have a location. It was so they have 150 to 200 people in the office. We look at the area. It was like off the boulevard, so it was no corner poppy stores or nothing like that. I'm like, oh, bet. Like we put this machine in there. COVID hit. They went from having 150 people and they was going to have clients come in. It went
Hmm.
down to basically 10 people being in the office per week.
Mm.
So it's like I took the snack machine out because of those products spoil quicker, right?
Yeah.
Chips and the donuts, etc. And I just left a beverage machine. Now they're kind of complaining like, oh, we want a snack machine, but I'm like, yo, y'all don't have enough people in here to justify having a snack machine.
Yeah.
Well, those are basically the 2 areas in which, at this point, I know. I only know what I know at this point is getting the schools because they're legacy locations. They're not going to close down. and the second one is getting me, places where people just working. And those
Mhm.
warehouses, they drinking Gatorade, they drinking Red Bull, they drinking Monster, and it's funny when you get into this space, you realize there's people who hold like their lifestyle is built around the vending machine. I can see people transactions. So I'll see people do about 6 or 7 transactions per day. People, they'll build their, their menu, so to speak, around what's in the vending machine. Like they're expecting to come in on a Monday and that machine have fresh products, a variety of products, and like that's their corner store. I got one machine we jokingly call it the Poppy store, because traditionally you'll go into places like Pepsi, Coke, Diet Coke, ginger ale. I'll have pineapple soda, peach soda, and, and we call it the Poppies, which is like, yo, like if for that demographic of customers, they like that. So
Mhm. All right, man. So that's dope, man. You taking that business, and now you'll have 2 businesses that you're running, man.
yeah.
So tell us about the future, though. So the future of everything that you got going on. You still have your t-shirt business. You're scaling up the vending machine business. What's the future look like? Are you going to just stick to those 2 lanes, or are you looking at anything different?
So I'm in a weird place with the t-shirt business, to be honest, because I'm looking to scale up, right? But I also don't trust, and I'm probably had to get over this. I don't trust um, people to grow with me, because what I've seen is that they get the trade secrets and they go somewhere else, right?
Okay.
But I can also get in a lane where I just mainly do very large orders that kind of take care enough. So I'm looking to get some more machinery where I can just target people, target organizations, and then I can do bulk orders, and we'll see how it go from there. And it's just because, I may just feel like somebody that's been kind of not necessarily burnt, but it's like, people see it and they just take it and run with it, you know.
Got you.
So, but the vending machine business, I'm looking to scale up, man. Looking to do. I got 3 new contracts this week. I'm doing a walkthrough on Friday, and I just think it's something that if you look at the way consumerism is going, even within the vending machine space, you know, I'm counting on technology evolving in a way where people just may want to have, going to the vending machine, and there's touchless vending machines. There's the ones where you can pick stuff up. Excuse me, you can pick stuff
Mhm.
up, and it'll charge it to your account. And I think there's a market for it. But trying to find the places that do that. That's where we're at right now. But I enjoy it, man. To be honest.
Man, that's dope. So before we get you out of here, let me ask you this question. What is your favorite book or a book that's inspired you along this journey?
Yeah. I got 2 books, man. One is
No, but
called
there's a couple if you got it.
one is called The Tipping Point. By Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, man. That was something that really inspired me. Just to even think, in terms of that. One of the things in the book talked about like people that are like connectors, people that create movements,
Mm-hmm.
people that share information. I got to shout out my brother-in-law Kahan Bix. He's a connector, man. He sees something.
Yeah, that's the bro, man. That's our
Yeah.
brother.
So that was one of the things that set out to me. The other one is called Mavericks at Work. It's an older
Okay.
book. I can't remember the author. I think it was like 2 authors. But basically, it looked at like trends in business where people set out to do one thing and something came about it. Like one of the stories was about a company called Potbelly. The
Mm-hmm.
place they started out as a in the garage selling books. Well, they kept making sandwiches, and then people started coming to the books, well, to the garage sale for the sandwiches more so than the actual products they were selling, and
Yeah.
then evolved into that. And I take that back to when I was working with kids. I always knew I wanted to be something entrepreneur. So I was always looking at something could turn into something, and listening and reading those stories about that. And I think they even had like the story of Papa John in that book, if I'm not mistaken, how his dad had like a bar or bowling alley, and excuse me I'm not sure which one it is, but people were coming there for his pizza eventually because that became more popular. And that's how I kind of live life, like do what I'm doing at this moment, and something will open up. When I transitioned from education to then fixing machines, it's a whole career shift, but it freed me to do my t-shirt business. But I never understood at the time, why am I fixing kiosk machines? Thank God, a couple years later, I got a vending machine company, right? So I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
got to walk by faith, and what it is I'm walking in, because you never know, what can come out of that. And that's where, those two books inspire me. Like, yo, whatever you're doing, it can be an opportunity that comes out of it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've read Tipping Point. The other book I actually have, I never read it. Right. So I think I got it on Audible. I think it is. If it's on audiobook. I think if that's the same one, it's like, William Taylor. It's in my Audible account. Just never listened to it. But now I'm gonna go listen to it because you said that. Audible be giving you credits every month. So sometimes I just buy business books and I just never get to them. But no, so that's dope though. Man, this has been a great episode, man. Corey, you got any other questions for the brother before we get out of here?
No, I mean, he's doing an amazing job of being an entrepreneur. He taking the skills that he's used in one place and transitioning those skills to be able to do multiple other things. So that's an amazing thing, because I know people that got skills and they don't transfer at all.
Sometimes people who work at jobs don't even recognize that they can take those skills and transfer them, right? So that's a gem too.
Yeah, that's true, man. And you see, hey man, some people just work better, with parameters and systems and a safety net in place. Like, it's hard to go out there and risk, your own time, energy, and effort. So
I know a guy that went to Penn. He told me that's one of the things like that's like taught in the culture, like at Wharton, where you'll go get a job, but your purpose of getting that job is to just get skills to go start your own. Like, you go into the job with that in your head. Like, I'm gonna go work at this investment bank. I'm gonna get all the games so I can go do my own.
Listen, I work with Wharton students. Like, we was together like constantly. It's a whole different mentality, man.
Yeah.
Even I'll say this, even like the jobs that come to them. Like, I was at a job fair with one of my folks one time. We were there, and to see HBO, Goldman Sachs, like all these places just coming to them, like begging to take them, is like, yo, because they definitely have a different mindset of about problem solving and just doing business. But I hear you.
Yeah, so that's very interesting, man. So you dropped a lot of gems in this episode, and one of the things I like about your story and what you're doing is the part about, like, bringing back your old students and all, always like, putting other people on. I think that's important to continuously do, and you'll be blessed for it. But with that being said, though, to our audience out there, make sure you follow Sterling. I'll put all of his information within the description box, as well as the show notes. If you got to put an order in for some teas, you know what I'm saying? Like, Sterling's right here in the city. So, but make sure you check him out. And Sterling, man, we just want to say thank you again for your time. We appreciate you, man, because, time is your most valuable asset. So I want to say thank you, good brother.
Thank you guys for having me, man. Thanks for the opportunity. And to your listeners, hey, man, stay encouraged. It's a journey.
This is absolutely true, man. And for our listeners, as we always say, it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep. Game elevates. We'll see you guys in our next episode. Peace.